Hello and welcome to a new type of content called Fresh Surfs, where instead of doing the deep dives in a video, I will go live and go through a few characters that just don't have a lot of story behind them really, but they are cool characters anyways. And I asked for this on Twitter, and these were some of the characters that you would like to know more about. So let's get first up Yuriko. Yuriko is a ninja from Kamigawa, where we will be going later, I think next year. It will be a new world, so Yuriko probably will not be there. But we don't necessarily know from which time period Yuriko is, so it might be that this person is there later as well, although they do not look very neon-like, so I don't think so. We can see in the art here, it's just really focused on the character. Usually in the story, at least, it says that she has a mask that is always on, which is not in the art, which I found. She doesn't have it on in the art, but it is here, which I found peculiar, but she does wear it next to her anyways, so you can see that this is why she's called the tiger, or Claw of the Tiger. She also has claws. I don't know how she uses them, maybe to climb, more like that. Because you have to know in Kamigawa, there are a few spots where you don't really climb, like in the swamps and in the academies that are there, but there are some cities that you can really climb on and in, and we can see here that she's probably on a rooftop of some sorts, and that might be why she has these weapons, so she can travail these roofs better. And travailing roofs is kind of like being stealthy, I guess, in Kamigawa. Her card is this. She is a ninja, which almost always means that the card uses ninjutsu as a mechanic. Return an unblocked attacker you control to hand. Put this card onto the battlefield from your hand or the command zone tapped and attacking. So usually what you want to do is block all the cards that a ninjutsu player, or at least a commander ninjutsu player, is attacking you with. But of course they are focused on having evasive creatures, flying creatures, really cheap flying creatures, for example. And you can block it, then you can switch that creature in for Yuriko. And then whenever a ninja, so this is really a ninjutsu tribal commander, you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So this is interesting in the story of Yuriko as well. Why? Because, literally all we really know, all that is canon about her, is that she steals from the rich and gives to the poor. So you kind of see that you want to see expensive things on top of your deck, and then she would distribute the damage around to all your opponents, and in a way that symbolizes how she, gives wealth to everyone, but in this case she damages your opponents, which is almost the same, maybe, in a way. We can also see that, being a tiger, she's really ferocious. You can feel how she would prowl on someone. We can see here that, she seems to feel at least at home in the city that she is in. Not really too much else that is there in the story for her, really. So she steals from the rich, gives to the poor. She stands with ninjas, and I think that is the most interesting thing about Yuriko, to be honest. And legit, you do just want to play with her because you like ninjas anyways. So let's just look at some ninjas, and let's get a feel for how it is weird that Yuriko is such a good character in a way, because most ninjas really aren't. So first of all, what I really think is interesting is Yuriko does come in a pre-constructed commander deck, but she does not come in her own one. She comes with Aminato the Fate Shifter, which is a card with a very peculiar vibe around them. They're very mysterious, as in we also don't know too much about her, but this is such a strong planeswalker that, well, there must be a lot of story behind her anyways. So her abilities: draw a card and put a card from your hand on top of your library. This of course really works with Yuriko, because Yuriko wants you to have really expensive cards on top of your library, and you can pick anything from your hand and put it on top this way. Then for the -1, you can exile another target permanent you own, then return it to the battlefield under your control. Not really something that works together with Yuriko. And then -6, choose left or right. Each player gains control of all non-land permanents other than Aminato, controlled by the next player in the chosen direction. Also not something that really works too well with Yuriko, but it also kind of does, because Yuriko wants you to play with a lot of cheap, evasive creatures that you otherwise will not have too much to do with. So it's like a 0-2 flying card would be really good with Yuriko, and then if you can give that to your opponent, they really probably cannot do too much with it. A little thing about Aminato that I really like is that she's holding like a twig that is branching off in two directions, so somewhat showing that she sees all the possibilities that are there and can choose that way. And I think this is really the interesting part that I wanted to get at, because this fate shifting is really what is shown in the +1 ability, where you put one of your cards from your hand on top of your library, sort of making sure of what will happen the next turn, of making sure of what will happen on the top of your library. And Yuriko works with that, so they steal something from the top of your library, and sort of Aminato helps you put something rich, put something expensive on top there. Yeah. It's an interesting part, and I really don't know what it really means yet. But maybe if we go look at some more ninjas, we might see something more. So here we see immediately something very aggressive, which is usually what ninjas do. They are either aggressive or like to steal knowledge. And in this case it's both, because this one is like stealing a scroll of some kind. Ninja of the Deep Hours, 4 mana ninja. Also ninjutsu, which you will see a lot, because I think all ninjas have ninjutsu for some reason. Don't really know necessarily why, but maybe it's because ninjutsu is a ninja thing, I guess. Whenever it deals common damage to a player, you may draw a card, so we can see that it wants to steal knowledge. Silent Blade Oni is really interesting to me. It is from a card from Kamigawa, or so it seems at least, with the vibe here. It's a really big one, and usually ninjas are not that expensive. But this one is 7 mana. Also blue-black, so you also see that I think all ninjas are focused in blue-black. Whenever this one deals common damage to a player, you may look at their hand and you may cast a non-land card in it without paying the mana cost. So also stealing knowledge. So, and this is interesting, because if we look at Yuriko, she doesn't really steal anything. She just lets you look at the top of your library and draw the card. So yeah, well, I guess Ninja of the Deep Hours does it as well. So maybe it's not that interesting. Higure, the Still Wind, focused on being silent. Another ninjutsu card, 4 mana with ninjutsu. When deals combat damage to a player, so we see this a lot as well. Whenever the one ninja deals combat damage to a player, you do something. And Yuriko does this for all ninjas, making it a very cool sort of tribal ninjutsu, or tribal ability. But this time you may search your library for another ninja, so this one gets you another ninja, review it and put it into your hand. You also can make it unblockable, making it work really well with Yuriko, of course. Then we have Mistblade Shinobi, a little bit of a cheaper one again, with just a 1 mana ninjutsu ability. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature that player controls to its owner's hand. Well, for 3 mana it's just a 1/1, so that's not really the best thing to do, I think. But again, we see these ninjas, they are silent, they steal stuff, they all have ninjutsu, and they all have, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you do a thing. So that's just what a ninja is. Walker of Secret Ways, another one that doesn't really seem like someone that is too kind-hearted per se, and Yuriko is, so I think that's really the interesting part, how Yuriko still brings all of these ninjas together. But whenever this one deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand, which is more strong than you think. But also you can return target ninja you control to its owner's hand during your turn. Can be instant, but has to be during your turn. And I think that's cool too. You want to protect your ninjas, you want to bounce them back, bring them back in again with ninjutsu. So yeah, really a strong piece in there. But again, not really something that works flavor-wise with Yuriko. So I think we really need some more flavor in there. Here we have someone really more on the dark side, the rats, let's say, of Kamigawa almost always live in the swamps. Almost all, or I think always, are like the evil type of rat that just do stuff without too much reason, and they fight each other, and they fight each other mostly for power within their tribe. This one is a servant of an Oni, which is sort of a demon from Kamigawa as well. Really expensive ninjutsu for 5 mana, but then whenever they deal combat damage to a player, you may put target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So you can see how cool it is to play with ninjas, or you can see the appeal at least for playing with ninjas, which is you get to steal stuff from your opponents, you get to draw a lot of stuff, and you get to flash in ninjas in and out, so that's really cool as well. And then when this one dies, the 5/4, which is a pretty big stat line, you can regenerate it. And this one is a legendary as well, so you could play it as well, but it's not really a tribal thing. It doesn't really work together with other things, just stealing stuff from your opponent. So I don't think this is a commander. Yuriko is still better because you always you get the blue part of it anyways, and that is really what makes it strong. Another one of these rats, Izumi is also what they are called. It's a 2 mana one with a really cheap ninjutsu again, so it's not too strong probably. It exiles up to 2 target cards from that player's graveyard. Pretty strong, but not game breaking or anything, it's just more of a hate card that way. Another one which looks very much alike, these two. This one is for 3 mana and ninjutsu. It destroys a non-black creature that players control, so that's really strong actually. But again, really evil, really just killing stuff. The more blue ninjas were more about knowledge, the black ones are about killing or exiling or doing stuff with graveyards. And apparently if you put those together, you get stealing, knowledge, and dealing damage to your opponent, really big amounts of damage. So I really doubt Yuriko being a good person per se. They might just lie about well, being good and giving to the poor and stuff, so that might not be the most important part of their character, but it does feel that way because it's the only real thing that differentiates her from other ninjas. Really, I would have liked it better if Yuriko would do some stuff with graveyards as well. I know that she is not a rat, she's a tiger, so she hunts rats. Maybe that's the part about that, but maybe she gets paid by the rich to kill these rats or hunt these rats down or imprison them or anything. I don't know. Because they are annoying to them and they are around their neighborhoods and stuff. And then she uses that money to give it to the poor again, which are also probably the Nezumi again. Maybe that's the thing. But she doesn't really seem protective. She just seems to have some weird values and therefore be a ninja.